this might sound hard to believe. Back in 2007, alongside Sergio Aguero and Angel Di Maria, World Soccer Magazine had a third Argentinian prodigy on their list of the 50 most exciting young footballers on the planet. And it's a name most of you have probably never heard before. We all know younger Lionel Messi was getting comparisons to the great Diego Maradona. They both had dark hair, their heights were similar, and of course, the way they both dribbled the ball was truly like poetry in motion. However, that other teenager who was only a year younger than Messi, despite being ranked ever so slightly lower than Aguero or Di Maria, was being called the best player in Argentina. His name was Diego Buonanotte. There's even this old forum I found all the way back in 2008, showing guys talking about how good Diego Buonanotte was, even showing comparisons to another Argentinian all-time great midfielder, Pablo Aimar. Both had light brown hair, very European looks, and were incredibly creative and skilled attacking midfielders. At one point, Buonanotte was even being compared to Messi for how much talent and promise he was showing in his teens. And if you watch these clips, you'll even notice he has a very similar playstyle. And again, these were claims coming from Argentinian fans themselves. But without a doubt, the most interesting nickname I've ever seen for Buonanotte was people calling him Messi if he had never taken growth hormones. That might sound crazy, but as I'm sure many of you are already aware, when Messi was younger, around the age of 10, he suffered from growth hormone deficiency and needed 2 years of hormone therapy. That being said, Messi is about 5'7" or 170 centimeters. Diego Buonanotte, on the other hand, well, he's even smaller, standing at about 5'3" or 160 centimeters. But his undersized height is not the only reason he was being called Messi without growth hormones. Because like I said, the young Buonanotte was one of Argentina's best talents. You don't just get compared to Pablo Aimar or Messi by other Argentinians themselves. There's a reason why he was ranked higher than legends like Benzema, Toni Kroos, and Mesut Ozil. As a teenager, Diego Buonanotte was already an insane playmaker that could step onto the pitch alongside grown men and make them look foolish. His incredible passing and creativity, along with his dribbling and ball control, paired with an insane pace, agility, and unpredictable movement, also made him a substantial goal-scoring threat. His finishing was cold and calm, and despite his size, his long shots were surprisingly strong. His game really looked like it had no weaknesses. Well, aside from being 5'3" and incredibly light, maybe he wasn't going to win much headers, but technically his skill really was worthy of being called one of the best young players in the world. As a 17-year-old, he was already chosen to step onto the pitch for one of Argentina's most historic clubs, River Plate, being asked to fill the shoes of Gonzalo Higuain, scoring 11 goals and providing 5 assists in 33 matches against grown men, helping River Plate be crowned as Primera Division champions. And as recognition for his talents, he would be called up to represent Argentina in the 2008 Olympics alongside guys like Sergio Aguero, Angel Di Maria, Riquelme, and of course, Lionel Messi. And with such a star-studded young squad, it was no surprise that they would demolish the competition, as the young Buonanotte helped Argentina win the gold medal and further prove that their young core was going to continue to rise in the world of football. And back in Argentina, it became more and more clear to River Plate fans that it was only a matter of time until Buonanotte would eventually leave their club and get snatched up by another football giant and be on his way to Europe. He was simply too talented not to be. And to those who are still doubting, Buonanotte would show everyone in 2009 that he could carry an Argentinian squad without Di Maria, Aguero, or Messi, dazzling opposition opponents and fans alike with his dribbling, playmaking, and attacking prowess in the 2009 Toulon tournament, single-handedly carrying Argentina to a third-place finish, winning both the tournament's Golden Boot and Golden Ball, proving that his nickname of the next Aimar or Messi without growth hormones was more than justified. It's to that point in a young superstar Wonderkid's career that their life really takes a big jump. And to be as young as 19 years old and see a bright future in your horizon could make anyone feel invincible and on top of the world. But instead, Diego's life would suddenly take a very wrong turn. While taking his father's car for a drive in the Argentinian freeway with 3 of his best friends sat inside, the vehicle would tragically skid off of a rain-soaked and poorly maintained road before smashing into a tree and turning into an almost unrecognizable lump of metal. The next thing he knew, Diego was in critical condition, sustaining a nearly ruptured lung, broken collarbone, and fractures on his humerus and clavicle, being dragged out of the wreckage by a firefighter as he whispers to his rescuer saying, "I lost control of the car." His friends, however, were not nearly as lucky. All 3 of Buonanotte's best friends would pass at the scene of the accident, as Buonanotte was the only one in the car that had his seatbelt on. Argentina's superstar Wonderkid would be out for several months, and when he had finally recovered just enough to leave the hospital, he would find out that he was being charged with 3 counts of manslaughter. While his body did recover, it would never really be the same, and naturally his agility and speed would take a massive hit. And whatever confidence he had to control the ball as he once did would also never be the same, as the scars from that horrific accident would continue to haunt him. In his words, he looks back and thinks, "Why couldn't it have killed me?" But despite the horrific injuries, loss of his best physical capabilities, the death of his 3 best friends on the back of his mind, and even an upcoming court case to determine the overall outcome of the incident weighing him down mentally even more, it was a surprise to everyone that just within a year, Buonanotte was able to step back into the pitch and still show a bit of that magic that everyone in Argentina knew him for. Towards the end of the 2009-10 season, Buonanotte's body would recover faster than anticipated, and River Plate were on a dreadful run of 5 games without a goal, hovering dangerously close to the bottom of the table, only having 14 points in 14 matches, and they desperately needed something to keep their hopes alive. And of course, it would be no other than their star boy Buonanotte, forcing his body to get ready to play. And almost like a scene straight out of a movie, score the first goal in a 2-1 comeback victory as the screams of River Plate supporters celebrating filled the arena. It was like their star boy had come back from the dead, with his demons momentarily exercised to keep the flame of the squad alive. As he celebrated, he would take off his shirt and show everyone a support hanging by his right arm to protect his broken humerus that was still recovering from the crash, and let everyone know that he was still giving his all for the club. But unfortunately, his days in Argentina were numbered. Opposition fans would chant the words "murderer" every time that Diego touched the ball. The environment, as hostile as it already was, became even worse, and there was just no way he can stay. Because despite the final court hearing in 2011 ruling that it was the environmental conditions that caused the accident, as there was no trace of alcohol or drugs found in his blood, that would never really change the attitude that opposing fans had towards him, and also in a way he had yet to really even forgive himself. Ultimately, he decided that it was time to leave Argentina, finally heading to where his talents would have taken him ever since, if not for that fateful day: Spain's La Liga. While he would be signed by Malaga and play alongside names like Ruud van Nistelrooy, Santi Cazorla, and Isco, being part of the squad that would have the club's highest ever finish in La Liga history at 4th place. After all that physical and mental damage he went through, Diego Buonanotte would not nearly be as impactful as he could have been. From a guy whose floor should have been an undisputed La Liga quality starter at the very least, even if he had never lived up to his true hype, considering everything he went through. That speed, agility, and confidence he once had could have made him one of the best La Liga players. But who could blame him for eventually becoming a journeyman and bouncing around different clubs? Because putting yourself in his shoes is an insanely tough challenge to even just keeping up a positive mentality after all he's been through. But after his time in Spain, he'd eventually play in Greece for a few years, still being a very decent player and even helping AEK Athens win the Greek Cup in 2016. But for those who were fans and followed him from the very beginning, it was still sad to see where he was at, when they knew where he could have really belonged. Eventually, Buonanotte would head back to South America and play nearly a decade for Chilean side Universidad Católica. And in Chile, he was a very solid player, but his time there was far from easy. In his very first season, an opposing player from club rivals Colo-Colo would walk up to him and say, "Oi, murderer, you killed your 3 friends." And aside from that being an incredibly classless move, it seems at the very least as over half a decade passed, Buonanotte started to forgive himself a little bit. And as a sign of maturity, he never let those insults get to his head, as he would continue to calmly play further on, eventually helping his club win both the league title and Chilean Super Cup that very same season. I know there are a lot of stories of past Wonderkids that often conclude with a lack of discipline, injury, or simply too much hype, but there are a few that had their lives and careers completely changed from things out of their control. And for Diego Buonanotte, while it is sad to think about what he could have been, at the very least, it's a good thing that he was able to survive, carrying the memory of his friends and keeping on. And for everything he's gone through, I personally hope Diego is in a better space mentally. I know he might not exactly be a legend on the pitch, but as far as mental perseverance goes, he's as good as anyone to do it. And I wanted to hold on until the end to mention the sponsor out of respect. But if you're looking for incredible framed posters, canvases, or stickers to put your favorite football legends on display, check out ballicons.com for clean, minimalistic art designs and use my promo code RAYMAR for 20% off your order. It really helps support my channel, so I'd appreciate it if you guys check them out. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and comment perseverance, or simply let me know what video you want next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.